the rest of the world was, a big threat so that they would keep on paying their taxes. And what America did was that instead of the people experiencing the inflation, they outsourced that inflation onto other currencies. So, for instance, Iraq, the Iraqi dinar was $4 and almost $4, I think, 380 something
When?
before when Saddam Hussein was in charge.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I bought some dinar. Man, this would have been 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Held it for maybe not 20 years ago, 15 to 20 anyhow. Held
Yeah.
it for years and then finally got rid of it. Didn't make anything on it. Like it,
Well,
you know.
it flatlined.
Yeah.
It flatlined, and it was actually pegged for the longest time. It was pegged when you went and looked at the charts, because you there were some feeds where you were able to look at the charts, and they would be like this, they would just be straight lines for weeks and weeks, and then it would go up a little bit, and then it would come back down again. It would just be
Yep.
shelves.
Yep. Yep.
And that's because when America saved Iraq from all of the terrible monetary policies that Saddam Hussein had, I don't think the guy was a good guy, but at least he didn't want to use the US dollar in trading oil.
Of course.
But of course that's what killed him. So the or whatever happened to him, we don't care. Like I just it's just kings fighting over each other's land. That's all it is. Uh, After America took over, they simply put US dollars in circulation and simply destroyed the value of the local currency. And they did the same thing in Vietnam.
Okay.
They did not win the ground battle, but they won the banking one. And ever since then, we've seen that undervalued Vietnamese dong, and people have suffered greatly as a result of their loss. And I got rid of my dinar a long time ago, and the reason why is because the 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 message around the dinar being revalued, that there was going to be a revaluation and it would come back up again, and everybody would have 35 million because they got $3,500 worth back in the day. That came from what happened with Kuwait. And when that happened with Kuwait, it was a test to see how people would respond in this kind of situation. Not because they're going to do it again, it's because they control the whole thing and they wanted to see how do people respond to this kind of thing. And the Iraqi dinar ended up becoming an operation to get people into that same mentality that Q teaches, which is don't worry, one day everything will be fine, and then you'll be able to cash in. You'll be able to cash in your dinar and you'll be fine. This is another subsect of fear, greed that people fall into as a result. And I was guilty of it. But I at one point I had 45 million dinar, right? So
Hmm.
was I was right in on that. So I can recognize that now. And I sold it over a period of time. Just sold it as, oh, it's a savings account now, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just sell it when I need to.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know, I think it was like the last 18,000 that I had, 20,000 or something like that. Yeah. It was around that. I threw into to get started with Forex. And then I lost that 2 months later. So yeah, no, it was, you know, it's a funny thing to me. Right now I look back and I just look at it as a funny thing. The Vietnamese dong, however, is a little bit different because they have, I can't remember the details, but their government structure is quite different, and they could actually go back into a republic.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so because of that, their currency it's a different situation. Their currency has a different situation altogether.
Has there been a reduction in communism in Vietnam? Like, has it gone from more of a communistic country to more to the right?
I would say in the style that China is more or less communistic and more
Well,
capitalist.
China's only really um, become more industrialized and has permitted um, capitalism in a sense, but capitalism is not the opposite of communism.
Oh, agreed.
You know,
I would say in the sense that China has developed having capitalism be an arm of economic power, because that's really, you're right, it's not a political capitalism is not a political approach.
yeah, the biggest problem with the Soviet Union was that they didn't let people um, gain wealth.
Right.
You know, China has allowed that.
Yes. The way I look at China is really no different than the Federal Reserve. It's just another version of another metaverse of another in-game currency that they got to have over their people.
Sure.
It's all about control over the populace, right? The more control over the populace they have, the longer they can stay on the safe throne away from their enemies.
Yeah.
And so, hey Corey.
Hey,
So
Corey.
yeah, I would. I don't know nearly as I don't know the inner workings and details of how Vietnam has formed, how it has shaped, but I do know that they have been following more so. They've been following the model of China in that they are a developing nation now.
Hmm. Hey, Corey, are you fishing there?
Oh, you're muted.
You've got a nice lake in behind you with some mountains and,
Yeah, that's Rock Lake.
Rock Lake. Where is that?
That is on your way to
Grand Prairie, isn't it? Or Grand
Grand
Cache?
Cache. Yeah,
Yeah. Off
and it's
and then off to the west.
that's right. Yeah, there's no cell reception, nothing there. It's a beautiful place to just go and hide out.
I just found out about that lake about I don't know who mentioned it, but about 2 months ago, and so I looked it up on the map. I've never heard of it before.
And there's valid reason why it's called Rock Lake. It's cold, but it's crystal clear, and you can see right to the bottom of it. And man, you can see some giant fish down there. It's amazing.
Trout mostly, I presume.
I don't know. I haven't fished it. I just when I went there, I didn't have my fishing license. So I mean, we just launched our boat there. Yeah, it was nice. So I know it's about a good 45-minute drive off of highway. What is that? 40, I think it's off of highway 40.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you're not getting there in a car. Let me put it that way.
Oh, really? Is it the road that bad?
Oh, it is. It's basically a logging road. It's rough.
Oh yeah. So that sounds to me like the old haul road there south of Nordegg, where it goes back over to Rocky Mountain House. This one here, yeah. This one here is unimproved. We have it labeled and everything.
It's beautiful country though, and there is a campground there. So next summer, my wife and I definitely want to spend a weekend out there.
Sweet.
Nice.
Well, there's also my grandson and I went. Do you guys know where Elk River Road is? South of Lodge Pole? Yep. Well, if you take that straight west and go to the Forestry Trunk Road, which is the Highway 40, continued on south, and then go south of that junction of Elk River Road, and you'll come to just before you get to the Brazeau River. There's a road that goes off there to an Indian reserve. That road is like you got to go slow, otherwise you'll just. It's like they never grade it, and I don't know how the Indian people. Well, the Indian people, if you drive through the reserve, all their cars are just just wrecked, you know.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Oh, you're pounded. Yeah.
it's just crazy. But we went through the reserve and then out into the mountains too. And we came to this clearing, and there were maybe about 40 campers that had just right in the middle of this clearing, and looks like it's a favorite spot for some people because you're right against the mountains, but beautiful area.
Yeah.
I think Rock Lake is more nestled in the mountains compared to what I'm talking about.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're deep in the mountains. In fact, there's a lot of when we drove around, we saw that there were some horseback riding trails
Sweet.
there. So people will come there with their fancy horse trailers that they can camp in, and it was crazy because like right where the parking lot was for the equestrian camp, there was a bear running around over there. I was like, oh boy.
Can you are you allowed to take quads in there?
No, not from what I saw.
Okay. Because there's what's called the Rock Lake Trailhead. I see that on the map.
And that might be a bit more favored toward ski-doos, I would imagine. That's probably what that would be for.
A what?
There's around Grande Cache area, though, there are some areas where you can do some serious quadding and off-roading. So there are some designated areas, but I don't recall having seen signs that were in support of quads and all-terrain vehicles.
Yeah, I'm looking at this trail from Rock Lake. There's a place called Rock Lake Trailhead where the road drives past on the north side of the lake to the west, and then from there a very fine line in the trees. I don't know if that's an old road, logging road, or it's just a trail, but anyhow, it goes way up the valley. Anyhow, that's off the subject.
Yeah, and what I have a jet boat motor, right? So
sweet.
So we went up the little creek that feeds that lake.
Oh,
and
wow.
At some point, like if we're there for a full weekend sometime, I'm going to go up there as far as I can with a full tank of fuel and see where I can get to.
Nice. You should take a pan with you, like for gold panning.
Oh, yeah, that would probably be pretty interesting.
I'd love to do that. There's a guy just north of us here in Edmonton who builds those boats. Like he builds them all aluminum, and then puts these outboard jet motors on them. They're not propellers, and but they are outboard. You tip them up and everything. And he said one lady several years ago bought one from him and paid for it with the gold she got off the North Saskatchewan River.
Wow.
Like she would take, from spring to fall, go up the river. Now he said that she had her special spot, which means that it's got to be pretty good.
Yep.
Anyhow.
Amazing.
Off the topic.
Well, is it though? Look at gold prices.
Well,
we are.
Yeah, no doubt.
We're definitely seeing the result of gold. Look at that. We are now at those. I was going to switch over to this view here. We're at that point where we're testing all those all-time highs again. In fact, it was earlier today. Let's reset the view here. Earlier today, we just about touched it. Just shy. This is now the 2-hour chart, so we get to see quite a bit of activity here. While we dipped down below, so this would have been the previous high right here. 41.71 as the previous high. So when we dipped below it, that provided a little bit of resistance. We did jump up a little bit right here, but then dipped back underneath to find that support along the trend line. Once it reached that old high there, this attempt, that provided more resistance. We had that top of that pennant form I wrote down that I think we're probably going to come back down, retest this line. Boy, was I ever wrong. I hate it when I'm wrong 40% of the time. And
Test
when
which
I'm
line?
wrong, I'm like, why did I get it wrong? What's that?
Test which line?
I anticipated that it was going to come back and test the trend line
okay.
one more time.
Sure. Yeah.
Now, of course, I'm not going to get myself too hard about that because that was only a 1.48% drop if it would have taken. But then, sure enough, on the 11th, we broke out above that pennant, and then we used that as support for a little while, and now pushing towards that all-time high. We'll see how the rest of the week turns out. Volumes go down usually on a Friday, and of course we're also going into Christmas week, so who knows? Who knows? All I know is that by the end of the week we will know for sure whether or not we're gonna push up to those all-time highs. There's time. I mean, this is the daily chart. So today could still very well go above. Tomorrow could punch it again. Having a conversation earlier today about the US 30. I was discussing this with Michelle, I think she's in her early 80s. And she had some ADA that she bought earlier this year. I guided her through that process. And I remember when she did that, I was jumping up and down. And she was like, what is so great about this? And I said, every time we do this, Michelle, we're stealing from the banks. It's just the best thing ever. So today I met up with her again as a follow-up, and guess what she did? She friggin' 82 years old, I think, 83, something like that. Early 80s. She swapped her ADA for Knight. So we were chatting about where we are in the big scheme of things. She bought ADA, by the way, at 97 cents. So she's not impressed at all with the outcome of ADA. Which I told her, I said, I don't blame you. But then I showed her the gold chart and how, when I bought gold, it was a bad time, right? Where did that go? There we go. Like I bought in this terrible, what a terrible time to buy gold back when it was $1,700.
She bought gold at 90 cents? Or she bought ADA at 90 cents?
97. She bought ADA.
Oh, man. So it's a third of what it was.
Oh, I know. And, she was laughing about it. She didn't put tons in. I think she put in 500, right? So at the time, it was 500. So what she did was she took half of her ADA and swapped it out for Knight. And in the conversation, I was just showing her on the big scheme of things. Look at where we're at. Like even ADA, in the big scheme of things, this is the logarithmic. So I went to regular so that she could see it to scale. But I mean, I said, even the amount that it's gone down since you bought, in the big scheme of things, is actually a really tiny amount compared to where we're headed. Even if you held on to it, and we go back to the all-time highs and sell, that's 200%. That's just recovering.
What is the all-time high?
Right. The all-time high is $3 and where's mine?
Oh yeah.
309.
Okay, so not quite 10 times from where it is now.
Yeah, not quite 10 times. But I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, let's zoom in. Look at this. I drew this out. I said, if we go down below this line, I think we'll retest this. We didn't quite make it. So because we didn't make it, that means that the market's weaker than I anticipated. So ADA, you might very well be going down further. What's the market structure? C. Market structure? Oh my gosh, what, Paul? Are you telling me that it's going to go down to, what is this? 27 cents? 27.5 cents? Nah, I'm not saying it will. I'm just saying that it might before it takes off. And momentum is showing us that, yeah, this next support line is probably where it's going to be. It's okay though, because the good news is that this whole time I have added more money into my ADA wallet this whole time. In fact, the amount that I put in while it was going down increased the size of my wallet by 30%. But it took me considerably less money than it would have if it would have stayed up here. My dollar cost average during this time is actually around 60 cents. When I take all the coins that I've bought, because every time I buy, I just keep buying the same amount. Oh, $100, $100, $100. And every time I do it, it's lower than it was the time before. So I buy more ADA every time I do it.
So when somebody has a chunk of cash, because you're betting is really what you're doing. You're deciding to go dollar cost averaging versus just taking that chunk and putting it all in. Yeah, there's an upside and a downside to that. Because if the market turns around and just skyrockets, then you miss that opportunity of not putting it all in, and you're just still dollar cost averaging.
That's right. That's right. And this is why there needs to be patience. Because when you first get started, oh, Audrey, I thought I had you up here. Sorry about that. When you first get started, you are going to experience a lack of timing. I mean, I got first started with gold when it was high, in the 1700s. It wasn't a bad choice. It was just the timing of it, right? The more you trade, the easier it is to get the timing. With cryptos, I'm still missing my timing because I'm still operating from a mind frame of how the old market, Forex worked, right? Oh, I saw when this was up here, I saw this 2020, this was November 2023. Yeah, November 2023 going into 2024 is when I really started telling people, look, you know what happened here? This is going to happen again. I don't know when, but it's going to happen again. And this high got me thinking to myself, look at how much higher this went. This went above these old lines over here. Mm-hmm. This is now pressing up resistance from the previous bubble. So I was telling people here, you might want to buy. And some people did. And some people actually bought. And then 2 days later, because it went down 4%, they sold it all. And they went back into Canadian dollars at the time. Was I wrong in saying we're getting close? Yeah, I was. Because after that, it was just like when I bought gold. It went down 40%. And it was depressing to go through.
Yep.
Even I was still here. We had B March 2024. And it was after that, remember, Audrey, you and I started market analysis. Every single morning we did market analysis for a year. And it was in here where I started up another $2,500 account just for demonstrative purposes. I don't demonstrate that account right now. Why? Because it's depressing. It's less than $1,000 right now, right?
Yeah.
So I don't share it. But did I make the wrong choice?
So I look at ADA and I say, okay, it's the largest DAO in the world.
Yep.
Why is it not doing better, given it's the platform that it is? It's the method of it's DeFi protocol. Why is it not doing better?
The only reason why the price has ever gone up in Cardano within the token ADA. The only reason why the price ever went up was because of volume on the exchanges. It was just riding the same alt waves as Ethereum and XRP and all the others every single time. Doge. It rode a wave. That's the only reason why it actually changed in value. What the people within that organization, what they're doing is that they're building something that it is not looking at the value of this thing across time. It's looking at the value of the asset across events. What needs to happen next for the financial system so that we can evolve past this old archaic model? As a result, we see the price go up and down because it's just one of the old classic altcoins, really. That's when it comes to it, people don't know what we know about it. Ian, think about how long I have been talking about it. When I first told you about it, there was no real way to encapsulate everything that you learned over the last 2 years about it. How could have I encapsulated that in January of 2022 when we first started talking about it?
Yep.
There's no way. So, sorry, that was 2023. January of 2023 is when I first started talking about, hey, you can set up a stake pool. Where was the price then? January 2023. Look at that. Here's January 10th, 29 cents.
Yep.
Right? That's when before I even started bringing people in saying, hey, buy some, it was in January of 2023. I'm like, I have no idea what it's doing. I've got some for a different reason. I still hadn't really gotten into figuring out what the heck was going on, but I saw the stake pools. And the stake pools are what blew my mind. It wasn't the coin. It was like, wait a second, these stake pools are built differently. Totally differently. These smart contracts are insane. They are in alignment with the laws of nature. There's simply a technological mechanism that allows us to exercise these rights without permission. That's what blew my mind back then. Yeah. And then I told people, idiot me, told people at the beginning of February, let's buy Cardano at 67 cents. And then it went down 48 cents. I bought it here too. I bought it here as well. Not as much as I did in the last year because back in here, it wasn't making much money at all. I was just scraping by. So then it goes up 200%. What did I do here? I didn't actually change my message. What happened was that the price went up and then all of a sudden people were like, I want to learn from Paul. And so I said, okay, well, here's what I'm doing. And then they bought. Now, I said it could go down. You got to make sure that when you're doing this, never trade anything that you are, if you would lose sleep, if you lost this and you were to lose sleep, then you should not be doing this.
Yeah, he said that.
Yep, lots of times. And those women, a lot of them were 70 plus years old because that was a small community of people around a similar circle of values, of sovereignty, natural law, and they came on board. And yeah, Michelle bought in February. What was it in February? January coming into February. She said she got it at 97 at the original, so it must have been in January. So yeah, she bought in this area here. And today she just exchanged it. She didn't lose any money. It's just down. The drawdown is simply here. And this is another fundamental principle to bring into people who are trading. And that is, you don't actually lose a trade until you close it.
Right, of course.
That's when it actually is determined whether or not you have profit or loss. So she's not down. In fact, she's simply switched half of the asset for another one. And the other one is expected to have even more growth. Like this is the brand new one that she just got. This is expected to have more growth. Look, we're already forming a pennant. How did that happen? Oh, Yeah. Support, resistance, and it gets smaller as the market comes to a determination. We're
Sure.
just gonna see where this heads. I think that her night over the next 2 years will outperform the ADA.
I think
But
the biggest issue is that our financial system tends to look at value over time rather than over events. And
correct.
you saying it the way you said it a few minutes ago is significant to me because you know we're all built on looking at it over time. How much can
Yes.
you make in a minute? How much can you make
Mhm.
in a day? How much can you make over a month? You know, all of that is stretched out over time rather than looking at it from the perspective of events, which is much more significant.
Indeed.
When I look back on my life at the age that I am now, I don't look at times per se. I mean, it is all time, obviously, but um, I look back at significant events.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. And even when we are thinking of things like, oh, when did that happen? We have to benchmark it with an event. And then we can say, oh yeah, okay, then that would have been 2015 or whatever. But
yeah.
it's the
Everybody
event
looks at
that we want to.
2008.
Yeah.
You know, the market crashed. We look at 1987. The market crashed. We
Yep.
look at the early 1980s when in Alberta, when the federal government brought in the uh, something to do with the oil patch. We look at early 70s when Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. I mean, there's so
Yep.
many things, you know.
Yep.
I mean, my kids don't even can't even think of having to pay 15% on a mortgage. But back in
No.
the 80s, that's what people were paying.
Yep. Yep. I remember my opapa had 27 Barrymore Drive in St. Albert. And I remember 22%. I just remember that number. That it was up to 22% at one point. I
Yeah,
don't know if he mortgaged at that or not, but that it had reached that.
yeah. Back in the early 90s, I was locking people in on their investments, GICs,
Yep.
for over 10%.
Wow. Yeah. In respect to where we're headed, and this is what this is why Michelle doesn't have any concern for her ADA.
Sure.
I shouldn't say it that way. She has concern for her money. She has concern for her assets. She doesn't have concern about its low value right now,
Mm.
or the perceived value that the vast majority of people hold it at the moment. This here was the high in January 2018. So Cardano had only been on the scene for just over a year and a half. But the work that it did during that time, this period of time, was when they were building. Before it even went and took off, they were already in Africa. Call them missionaries if you want. That's what I like to call them. They were already helping people who were in countries that were stricken by war, where where the warlords had control over the banks, and they were indiscriminately debanking people according to their alignment in politics or ideology of religion or whatever it happened to be in that country. That's how they got started. When things took off, it was only because it was a part of this ecosystem of altcoins that were building smart contracts. So it went up crazy. Boom. Market cap, you know what? Let's go to market capitalization instead so that we get to see the growth of money, not the value of the individual tokens. It's going to be the chart itself looks the same. However, what this does is it gives us some numbers to get an idea of the growth that we can experience. So, going back, let's go to the weekly chart. So this growth here, we're going to call it from nothing to the top when everything was peaked out. And what we do is that we use the Fibonacci tool to get an idea of where we can expect things to go in the future. So I'm going to stretch this tool across so that we can see just where. Look at how, interestingly, this is a Fibonacci tool, okay? This is just math. That high and this low was 1 unit. And that it just so happened when things took off and it actually blasted off above that previous high, it went up to an extension and bing, right there. And here,
2 units.
It just hit that Fibonacci level at 2.2. That's 2.272, which is the extension beyond 1618. So the Fibonacci golden ratio just happens to be something that this thing also follows. Now, we can see actually went up even above that. So I'm going to go ahead and grab, what's the other next thing? This one? Yeah, there's 24. Let's go to, it didn't go that high. Did it go to 3? Almost 3. 3 times over and above what it did before. That's that, almost that marker. Almost. Didn't quite make it. Now what we do to get an extrapolation is we take a look at how much did the value go up during this time. So then we measure it from the low. Oh, you know what? Let's go from the high to the next high. It went up 177%. So 177%, what does that translate into?
That's about 5 years, isn't it?
Yeah, let's measure that too. 1,300 days. 191 weeks divided by 5. Yeah, almost 4 years. So that market value went up 179%, about 180%. Let's go back to, no, actually, we're not. We're going to go back this way. So from point to point, 180%. Well, that was the last time it went super high there in 2021. Even I think, yeah, August 2021 was at that all-time high. I knew a guy who sold a $4 million company. He had an HVAC company, $4 million worth. He sunk $1 million into Cardano in 2019.
Wow.
That $1 million had a valuation of 52. He didn't sell.
He did.
In fact, I followed up with him in this area here when it was back on the downside. And he was not even upset about it. Because we recognize what this is. This is a chart that goes up and down. It's a price action that's reflective of the volume and supply and demand that's being put on the exchanges. And we can expect it again because these are it's still on the exchanges. So where are we headed? Well, let's take that. Let's say, for instance, between this point here and the next point, when everybody signed up for all kinds of different digital IDs, that during that time, we can likely expect the same type of growth, where the next crisis that comes in and the next phase of the Great Reset shows up and we all got to sign up for some more digital IDs. That will likely result in another 180 to 200, 180%, we'll say. So we'll go like this. We squish it down a little bit. Now, this is valuation, okay? This isn't price action. This is valuation. How much money is in this thing? Well, if we go up that far, look, this is why I use all logarithmic charts, so I don't have to scroll all this time. So 180%, there, that's 180 right there, is going to be $284 billion from in total. Right now, it's at 12 billion. So what does that equate into? What is the growth there? $21 times. 21x from where we are right now. So 20x. 20x? That's if it just does what it did last time. As far as the volume of people going into the digital world. I mean, think about AI. How much data has been accumulated since September of 2022 when ChatGPT was released upon the masses? There's September. September 22 right there. All that data accumulation, you can bet your boots it's worth a heck of a lot more than the amount that it was back then, right? When this goes on board, this is going to go to such great heights that it's going to traumatize people. Because that's what happened last time.
How do you mean traumatized?
Oh, I missed out on the biggest opportunity. I missed out on the next on Microsoft, or
okay, sure.
Next, that kind of traumatized. Not a well. Some people get that way, and they fling themselves off buildings. They're so traumatized.
Yeah, I know a guy that 25 years ago, when the .com bubble, he sold all his Apple stock.
Oh yeah.
Because the fear of losing everything.
Amazing, eh? So, if it's going to go up 20x from where we are right now, what does that mean for prices? I'm just about there now. 20. That's $7.50. And if you recall, I think it was, well, I know Audrey was there for it when I first was making charts about this. I even built a spreadsheet with all the targets and everything like that. My target is $8. I am going to start selling at $5, but I'm going to be dollar cost averaging my selling just like I dollar cost averaged my buying. So once I get up to $5, I'm selling 50% of everything. And then as it goes up, I sell more and more.
So you're selling it to where?
Probably metals for a time. And then and then what I'm going to do is once the metals are super high, then we're going to see real estate hit rock bottoms, and that's when I'm going to buy real estate.
Mm-hmm.
So you think by then that the this is interesting because in the early 70s, my mom and dad bought 15 acres for $12,000. Mm-hmm. I might have told this story here before. 3 years later, they sold half of that, so 7 acres, for $30,000.
Yeah.
So it went from $800 an acre in 3 years to what would that be? $4,000 an acre. That couple turned around and sold the same property a year later for $50,000. And so in that time frame, in fact, it took a little longer for gold to go from $30 an ounce to $800 an ounce.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of, I think, in 1980 or something like that. So I'm just wondering what the correlation is between gold and silver and real estate.
Yeah, that would be an interesting. I would love to see charts overlapping each other on that one.
Why do you think that real estate is going to crash?
Well, because the monetary system is designed specifically with a very specific intense purpose. And that is to make it where the people can no longer afford to live on the land so that a new jurisdiction can be placed over the land. That's what it is. So always another layer of land grab is the purpose.
Okay.
So when things go bad for the currency, it will get to the point where the land will be worth less because nobody can afford it.
Nobody can afford it now.
Now we're just getting started. We're just bare like, oh, it is just getting started.
None of the kids can afford to go out and buy a home. That's why a lot of them are still living with their parents.
Yep.
Or they're bunking together.
Mm-hmm. Yepers. And it saddens me. There's kind of like that part of me that overlooks the playing field, you know, and ponders what's happening. And there is a part of me that's saddened by the fact that this is happening, that there are going to be so many people who lose everything. I also have a struggle. I struggle with empathy.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm literally like if I wanted to go into my past and talk about my upbringing and the abuses that I went through, it would sound like I'm, you know, looking for sympathy. But what the purpose of my story would be to help people recognize there is no reason I should know what I know about the digital ID. There is literally no reason why I should. And yet, it was something that was plain as plain as the skin on my hand, like as tangible as my own skin. I recognized the slavery system that was around us in 2008. And because I was piecing together how the monetary system worked and how data worked, I knew that the two would be correlative, that we were moving into a world where data was the money. And I lost everything as a result of that belief. People say, oh, you know, when I was telling people that masks weren't working, I was so frustrated because nobody listened to me. Yeah. Tell me about it. Tell me about it. In fact, my mother told my wife to leave me because of the way that I was approaching this, the way that I was handling the finances, the way I was positioning myself, for how much gold and silver I bought in 2011. And of course, they were right. They got to say they were right because the price went down.
How would you do that differently today? Dollar cost average instead?
No, I would never tell anybody what I'm doing with my money again.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I would do it again. If I had to go back, I would do it all over again.
And that's so on the other end of that, Paul. So that's the way you were doing it was, I want to say, more of a logical progression.
Yes. Yeah.
Mine was different. Mine was a feeling. Right? So there's intuition, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I was starting to be more just attracted to people like yourself. And whenever I'd say something, yeah, again, people would be like, you're crazy. You know, she's off the deep end. And, you know, and it was more, this is how I'm feeling. This is going to happen. This is how I'm feeling. This is going to happen. Right? And so the two different ways, right? The you know, you're kind of logically go through it, but then there's also the feeling of it, right? So there's the intuitive people as well.
I love those people because they can usually reach that point sooner than people who are logical.
Mm.
Well, I can honestly say that decades ago, I met a guy who was involved in the medical industry, and he said it is a real thing what we call women's intuition. He said in the fetal moment of a child, a male child at a certain point, no, I think it's the female. The female fetus at a certain point, there's a disconnect between no, it's the male child. There's a disconnect between the both halves of the brain. So men tend to be one or the other, but not both. Whereas a woman is able to communicate between the two halves, and she comes up with an answer that guys say, "Well, how did you come up with that?"
Right.
And he described it this. He described it this way: men will think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Women will think 1, 2, 4, 5. They'll miss the 3, but they'll still come to the same conclusion as a man, but in a quicker way.
And the thing is, though, is that's one of the reasons I feel that they're working on the whole binary, different genders kinds of things, because women and men definitely think differently, but we need each other.
Well, when you look at the book of Genesis, and God created man, male and female created he, him.
Mm-hmm.
So when it says God created man, it's not man as in the guy with Big Jim and the twins between his legs, it's male and female.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also why when scripturally speaking, when a man and woman get married, they become one. That's what it refers to. They become one flesh, because that's where we're made to be together. Even though some guys can't stand women and some women can't stand men, we're made to be together.
Yes. There's I call that the dance between the poles. There's the masculine and the feminine, and
That's
both
good.
of them are
That's good,
absolutely crucial to the survival of the species. To the degree that the masculine and the feminine can unite is the degree to which peace is brought into the home.
Mm-hmm. The yin and yang.
Yep.
Like all those things, we must come together, and it can only be man and woman.
Yeah.
There is no binary. There is no other whatever.
I have a niece who is transitioned. I don't know how she's transitioned on the bottom part of her, but she's cut off her breasts.
Yeah.
It's tragic.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I've been saying this for many years as well, that because man has authority over government, there is a agenda to have man not identify themselves as man or woman, because those have authority over government. So if we can convince people to identify themselves as anything but, now they're automatically a person.
I've been also thinking to take Jewel and Cassie into school and have them learn. Those are my dogs, by the way, because there's cats and dogs in school now.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm going to take Cassie and Jewel into school and go, I want them to learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just think, school. Every time another student comes in, the government funds you another $1,500. So why don't you take them in? You took in that one over there. Look at the ears it has.
And you have a litter box and
tail hanging out of its back.
Huh.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
Wow. Yeah, this world is going crazy, but yet there is some logic.
Yeah, and it's now for me, it's the going crazy thing. Like I'm watching that now happen from another perspective where it's no. We were going crazy, and this is the inevitable result of not stopping our neighbor from going
Yeah.
crazy. Similar to the migrant crisis, right? People say, "Oh, there's a migrant crisis." No. We told you that was a migrant crisis before Trudeau was even elected, and nobody did anything about it. So what we're seeing today is simply the inevitable result of doing nothing about the crisis.
Yep.
And gaslighting, if saying,
Yeah.
"Oh, you're a racist if you don't want them in."
Ori, I think I saw you moving your mouth there, but I didn't hear you. Go ahead. Try again. Nothing. Nothing still.
Now,
Oh, there you go. Which mic is
There we
it?
are.
yeah, exactly. That's what it was. Too many different inputs and outputs, and that's it. And that made perfect case in point of why conservative or liberal doesn't matter. It's they're on the same wavelength.
Yeah. Well, and at the end of August there, the Next Gen Merchants that we did was talking about the fraud of the person, right? But that it's not the way that we think it is. That it really boils down to the contract. I think the week before that, Ian was talking about, I didn't have anything to do with the creation of my legal name, so I don't even know what it is. Yeah. And that's the truth. Well, when you have something binding, especially in finance, and it's being bound to you by only the mechanism of identifying yourself as the property of someone else, then there truly is the greatest, like what a brilliant. I've defined evil as deception perfected.
Yeah.
You can't get a more clear example of how perfected their deception has gotten, where people have no idea that they are consenting to identifying themselves as someone else's property. That takes such incredible, conniving, nefarious mind that people don't have the comprehension of how evil they are because they don't even know who they are. They are still sitting there waking up in the morning and being like, I got to go to work. Why? Because my bank account needs more money in it.
What's the name of that Jim Carrey movie? Was when he lives under this dome?
Oh, the Truman Show.
Truman Show.
Yep.
That's a good show. It's a good depiction.
Yep.
So I'm watching a movie, or it's a series right now. It's very interesting. It's kind of a spoof too, but it's called Future Man.
What's it called?
Future Man.
Future Man or Men?
MAN.
MAN.
Yeah, but it's a spoof, and there's some weird, whatever in there. But they do time travel, and some of the things in there are like, is that going to happen?
Yeah.
Is this like
programming's a real thing?
Is this a depiction of what's going to happen and how it's all going to be, how we are going to be controlled, and all of that? Yeah.
Does anybody remember the Princess Bride?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen it, but I can't remember it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna bring this clip up because it's worth a watch. Yeah, it has been a while too for me, but I remember seeing this, early 2020, just seeing the clip and then being like, "Yep, there's your predictive programming."
I'm sensing another movie night.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, Future Man is a series, so it's little half an hour little things, but
Okay, so if I go, oh no, I don't want to go full screen because then I can't see you guys. Okay, So if I add this, then it will share the volume and everything. There we are.
I'm curious as to which clip it is.
Oh, this was great predictive programming. Amazing predictive programming.
You're quick. Good thing too.
Oh, hang on. That's super cool. Can you guys hear it okay?
It
Yep.
needs to be a little bit louder, but that's
Louder?
good.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
You're quick.
Good thing too.
Why are you wearing a mask? Were you burned by acid or something like that?
Oh no, it's just they're terribly comfortable. I think everyone will be wearing them in the future.
Mm.
You're quick.
Uh-huh.
I think everybody will be wearing them in the future.
Right. He had it over his eyes, though, Paul, not his mouth.
No, I know, but it was a mask.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, why are you wearing a mask? Oh, I think they're terribly comfortable, and everyone will be wearing them one day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think one of the things we need to look at is whether or not our what we're looking at is the goal, or whether it's the product
Mm.
of or byproduct of. Because men and women always do out of who they believe they are.
Yes.
Okay, so if I am if I have believed a lie all my life about who I am, I will live that way. I will act that way. I will speak that way. If I learn my identity that God has always intended me to have, I will begin to believe that and live that, and it'll change. You know, you go from, well, I shouldn't really apply for that job because I'm really not all that great. You know, where does that come from?
And qualified.
You know, so it's when we start believing who God made us to be, we learn that identity, we become different people. And we just change. We become less afraid. And fear is probably the fundamental characteristic of a man or woman that has believed a lie and believes a lie. They're afraid most of the time. Internally, you might not see it outwardly, but internally they're afraid. They don't do this because, they don't do that because.
Yes.
So our freedom, for instance, is not a goal. It must be the byproduct of who I am.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting because yesterday, I don't know, I did something and someone said, "Oh, you don't follow the rules." I said, "There really is no rules. They're more just suggestions."
That's right.
And I think that's kind of where I live now is, if that was made by a government, you know,
Yep.
that was made by somebody else. Does it really apply to me? You know, don't no harm, cause no loss, cause no damage. That's my only rules. Those are my only guiding principles.
Uh-huh.
Right? And any other rules are just guidelines that if they're going to cause harm, loss, or damage or not cause harm, loss, or damage, depends on what I'm going to decide.
Yep.
You guys are bringing up something that brings up this is I think I mentioned it last week, but this is the premise that was introduced to us by Immanuel Kant. Share.
Hey, Corey, can I have one?
I was just going to share. Are you going to share, Corey?
I missed it. What was it?
He's
Oh,
eating.
whatever he's eating. What are you eating? A donut or?
It's a pastry. It's got with a cream filling in it.
Oh, wow, man.
Put it up close to the camera. Everybody's got it.
Okay, thank you.
We got our fix of food porn.
Yeah.
Here we go. Exposure to lines of only one orientation. This is a study that is published on the National Library of Medicine. This is a study where what they did was they took kittens and they had them in complete darkness. And at, what was it, 4 weeks? Yeah, 4 weeks of age, the cats were allowed to be brought into, this was a long time ago, by the way, in the 80s, 82. The cats were brought into a room where they would only see vertical lines on the walls. Like the room was blank and it was just vertical lines everywhere. And that was half of the kittens. The other half of the kittens they put into a room where it was only horizontal lines. And the study reveals that as a result of their upbringing, as a result of the realities that they were programmed to correspond with, that when they were let into the real world, the cats that could only see the horizontal lines, because they were only exposed to horizontal lines, they could only see things like this. So they had no concept of being able to jump up onto a tabletop, for example. They had no concept of it whatsoever. And they simply didn't have an awareness of height, of up and down. Everything to them was like this. The other cats had the same effect, but of course, only like this. And they ended up bumping into all kinds of other things because they couldn't see flat. They couldn't see anything. So they were, both of them, completely disoriented in the real world because they did not have a reality that supported their environment.
Wow. Can you send me that link, please?
Absolutely.
So that means that you actually should be exposed to things you don't believe and not just shunned away from that, like speech or text that you don't believe.
It really helps me recognize, and I still have my own delusions. There are still things that I believe to be only vertical lines. Right? There are still ways of being that I am acting upon that are completely contrary to reality. And to the degree that I'm willing to explore that is the degree to which I may be free of those confines. You know, Immanuel Kant, the way that he presented it was you have the nomenon, which is the thing that is being observed. And then you have the phenomenon, which is the definition that we give that which is observed. And we can only experience a phenomenon because we've got this filtration system called the brain that defines what we're observing. And because it's all been like this or like this the whole time, either horizontal or depending on your upbringing, right? I was raised in an environment where it was not safe to have fun. And so there was this vertical line that I was introduced to that became reality. I was not allowed to have fun, period. I still have that temptation today, where in fact, I've even watched other people have fun in objectively wonderful environments where fun should be experienced. And I'm sitting there going like this, what is the point? What is the point of this?
Thanks for being so Christmassy and putting on that Christmassy thing.
Like that, Red. Like, I was thinking to myself, what are we at, Mardi Gras now? Like, what the hell?
Mr. Scrooge.
Oh,
Yes.
he wore it well. He did. He wore it all day.
I forgot it was there. I even put my coat on over top of it.
Did you take it home?
No, I gave it back to
symbol.
you.
It's a symbol of. Oh yeah, you did. But it was a symbol of fun.
Yes, to others. Anyways, good old Immanuel Kant was the one that he was able to verbalize that. But it was only a continuation of what we were also taught by Plato and Aristotle. and that is we create our own reality. Because we're the meaning making machine that is interpreting everything that we're seeing.
There's a degree to which that is true in terms of that what we believe, because I think belief is fundamental to that. We create a reality if we believe something.
Yes.
If a child is raised in, as you said, in an environment where having fun is, for logically explained as being useless or meaningless or whatever, and shied away from, then a child is going to believe that. A child that's heard all their life, you're stupid, you're stupid, you're stupid,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to believe that.
Yep.
So it's belief. So the question is, what do we believe?
What do we believe? And this is kind of when we go into the chat about, what the people reference these humans as usually lauded and magnified as either a Buddha. I came to an ascended master's perception of reality and whatever else. But the one unifying principle that they have shared is that we do need to always check our beliefs. We have to always be open to the fact that it's just a belief. And if it is only a belief, then we have to be willing to accept that it's not true. And to the degree that we shed the beliefs, where we stop attaching ourselves to specific beliefs, is the degree to which we can experience a new realm of possibility. Tom Campbell talks about this. He was a NASA physicist in the 70s, and he bumped up against this idea of reality. He wrote about it in his, he calls it My Big Toe, which TOE stands for Theory of Everything. And he says that our responsibility as human beings is to shed beliefs, that we need to even cleanse our mind of them so that we can be open to the reality around us. And this ties in with the, which one is it again? I always forget the title because, The Unfettered Mind, which was written by a Zen master who was teaching the samurais how to be a sword master, even though he had never wielded a sword. But he was able to teach the samurais that when you have an enemy coming at you with a sword, if you are judging the sword, or if you are judging the enemy, if you are in a presence of mind where you are making a definition of what your enemy is doing to you, then you will not wield your sword with presence. And you are doomed to die. You have to be present only to what is. There's someone coming at you, but if you are trying to figure out what he's doing, then you will not be present to what needs to be done in order to defend yourself. This idea of shedding our beliefs is that, think about it. If you have a belief, like you were saying, Ian, then what's happening is that now it is shaping your reality, simply because if something were to appear in front of your eyes like a vertical line, and you've only ever been exposed to and believe that horizontal lines are reality, then what happens is that there's a curve of probability, and it's a bell curve. It's a distribution curve in statistics. They talk about this lots, where the more intense the belief is, the smaller field of possibilities is available to you, because whatever could occur outside of that possibility is not within your purview, because you're narrowed in on a specific belief. By shedding the belief, however, what happens is that wave of probability starts to expand, and you actually have more possibility within your perception, and you have more data points with which you can make a decision. Because if you have less beliefs, If you're narrowed in on specific beliefs, you're not seeing other possibilities, and so those choices are not available to you because they're outside. They're a vertical line compared to a horizontal one. The dissipation of beliefs broadens the possibilities and allows you to have more clarity and presence in the choices that you make day to day, because you're not being led around by vertical lines.
So I'd love to know what the results of those cats were after they were released into the real world, and after several weeks or months, whether they adjusted to their new environment. It'd be interesting to know. Did the vertical cats learn to move sideways, and did the horizontal cats learn to move vertically? Be interesting to know.
Unfortunately, after 170 hours of the experiment, the cats were killed and the eyes were dissected because they wanted to analyze, specifically, they wanted to analyze how their visual cortex was actually formed.
Sure.
And there was significant differences. Complete neurons from layers 3 and 4 were drawn with the aid of a camera lucida and the orientations of the tons of scientific. I don't even know how to pronounce some of these words. In normal cats, distributions of the orientation of dendritic fields were uniform, whereas in strip-reared cats, the distributions of the layer 3 pyramidal cells were shifted. The direction of this shift varied with the experience of the cat. In cats reared viewing only vertical lines, the fields were oriented orthogonal to the representation of the vertical meridian. And in cats reared viewing only horizontal lines, the fields were oriented parallel to the representation of vertical meridian. So they just went in and took a look at how did they actually form their vision. But that the experience was, the experience was like the cats that saw horizontal lines, they literally bumped into leg tables because leg tables are vertical.
I got to run.
All right. Have a good rest of the day.
Blessing to you all.
Yeah, wow. That actually went longer than I thought. Thank you. That was a great market analysis.
Bye-bye.
Take care.